28 years later, I did review all the other 28 days and weeks later movies, so check those reviews out. Not a big, huge fan of this franchise, though I will say after posting the reviews of those, because of this one coming out, they did actually play 28 days later in the theater for one night only, and I decided to go. And it made me actually appreciate and like that movie quite a bit more. And I actually think I'm close to loving that movie. Like maybe another rewatch might actually make me fall in love with that movie. Um, but yeah, I just think that this is a good franchise. But this movie's getting a lot of hate. And I think it's kind of unwarranted, but I kind of get it at the same time. Let me explain. I think this movie overall is really good. I think the narrative about this kid becoming a man and kind of learning in this world of zombies is a very different story than what we've seen previously in this franchise. I think the way it goes about is really great stuff. The the actual story with the infected is very creepy. It had lots of great twists and turns that I think always kept me engrossed in everything going on. Where I get frustrated with this movie, we'll talk about in a minute. But overall, I thought it was pretty good. The fact that this was all shot on iPhones is pretty impressive. Some of the shots here are just great. Danny Boyle is just a really great director, and yeah, they did a lot to really make this film work for me. Where I didn't like this movie, well, I won't even say dislike because is the ending comes out of nowhere and it's very tonally abrupt. Now, I think there were hints to some of the stuff going on in the ending and early in the movie, but because this movie ends on a cliffhanger isn't resolved, it's like, what? I think it's a terrible place to end the movie, genuinely, but I kind of understood, hey, there's a sequel coming out next year, and I kind of believe that if this movie ended with a to be continued in 28 years later Bone Temple or whatever the next one come out in January is, a lot of the negativity around this ending would still be there, but it wouldn't be nearly as bad, which I think is like a sign that the people behind this movie kind of screwed up a little bit, because number one, they should. I think these movies, we need to stop with not naming these movies Part One and Part Two, because there are people who go to the theater to watch these things who aren't turned into the movie news circle like the rest of us, who don't know. Oh, I have to see the other one before that. They don't know that. They just think this is a zombie movie, and so like, why can't we call things Part One and Part Two? I think it was because at a certain point, some of these movies that were Part 1, Part 2 started not doing great, so they deemed it as a marketing decision. But a lot of those movies that didn't do great had their own reasons for that. It wasn't because they were Part 1, Part 2. Let's just make the movies Part 1, Part 2. You know, if all these fucking dumbasses who spend all this time watching 8-hour TV Netflix events, you know, like, how can you like get upset that a movie split into two parts? Because that's a lot of time to invest. I see that complaint from people. I just don't get it. But I don't know. I thought this movie really worked. I thought I had a lot of great stuff to offer, and I think if you are a fan of this franchise, you should check it out. It's not my favorite. I think it's actually probably my least favorite, especially since that ending. It just made me go, what? But I'm also like, under the understanding of, hey, we have another one coming out. Let's see what they do with it. I don't know if it won't necessarily make the tonal shift that happens in that ending better, but it will at least make it more understandable what that was, because I was just watching and going, what the fuck? Okay,